I need chapstick. Look at my lips, dude. I need that chippity chappity. That lip glip. That chap slap. Welcome back to Every Day's Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Day's Movie Ever. Today I'm going to talk about Morning Light. Morning Light is a 2008 theatrical release. It is about 15 young sailors who have to learn to sail between California and Hawaii in order to prepare for a big race. It is written and directed by Mark Monroe, cinematography by John Brooks, Rick Deppe, and Josef Nalevansky, editing by Paul Crowder, and it's written music by Rick Markman, Dan Pinella, and Chris Wagner. I'm also not going to cover who it stars because it's every single crew member and like Roy E. Disney, and it's basically just who's in the movie. So there is no like weaker link that I would say isn't a star. It's about these core group of people. And so I've got screenshots of like what they all ended up doing, but again, that was still all like the big players, so I can like run through some screenshots here while I'm talking of the kids that it starred. Kids, I mean they were all adults, but kids, and kind of show it that way. But you know, there was Jeremy and Graham and Jenny and like, you know, all the kids. Roy Disney was a sailing enthusiast. He actually held many records for speed in sailing, including from LA to Honolulu. And he kind of through the grapevine. So Tom Pollock, the TP52 Class Association executive director, had thought of the concept of this and passed it to Leslie Demuse, who had worked with Roy on other sailing film projects. And then in 2006, Roy, Robbie Haynes, and Leslie Demuse decided to do it and considered 538 applicants, narrowed it down to 30, and then narrowed it down to a final 15 for the boat. It was produced with Philippe Kahn, and they filmed like the choices all the way through the training, all the way through the race itself. And nowhere does it list a budget for the movie, but it did make $275,776 in the box office. I can't say numbers. I feel this is very well edited in certain sequences. I really also I didn't want to dwell on the cinematography. I think it's greatly covered. I think there's a lot of coverage for something that's complicated. You know, they're on a boat, so it feels very well covered. We're with them on the boat. We're in it with them, which was nice. It didn't feel particularly long, but I feel like there were some sequences where I was like, yeah, okay, and whatever, I don't care. But it was interesting and well edited to the point that I was invested in them and I wanted them to win. The opening music sting, right away there was a sting and I was like, ooh, and then nothing was like that again, and the music went completely unnoticed by me, so. Patrick Warburton narrates the opening sequence of this, and I for sure thought Patrick Warburton was going to narrate the whole thing, and I was very taken aback by that. I never in a million years would have expected that, and that was hilarious. But no, it's literally just the opening sequence, and then there's not a narrator for the rest of the movie. Favorite part? I'm tied between two. Either when Jeremy got emotional at the end talking about them finishing and the crew and everything, or when Graham was an absolute class act when he was unselected after being selected. I can dive into that in a bit more in a second. Least favorite part, the sexism that took forever to be revealed that was happening to Jenny. Brutal. I'll go into that in a minute as well. So, I'd recommend it. It was interesting, and I don't know why I would watch it again. I'm good. It wasn't such a breathtaking documentary that I would watch it again, but it was good. It was interesting. So I'd say, yeah, if you're interested in it, go for it. It was interesting. Specific moments. Roy is so serious, which I get. You know, you're sailing across the sea for 10 days. Hopefully. It might be longer than 10 days if you get lost or if you whatever. The 15 crew having to choose the 11 that are going to be on the actual boat for the race because they have to have the 4 alternates. Ooh, that part was intense and so handled really well, actually. I didn't know how they were going to handle it, and the way they went about it, I actually thought was very mature and interesting. So, yeah. Okay, let me kind of dive into some stuff here. Let's kind of just piggyback off of where I just was. So they chose 15 finalists, right, to work on the boat. There were 15 crew they wanted, but then they left it as they were all training and everything. They said that them 15 themselves were going to have to make the choice amongst themselves what 11 were actually going to do the race, and who the 4 alternates were going to be. And at first, I was like, how the heck are they going to choose that? Like, are they all just going to vote for people? Like, what's going to go on? But it actually ended up, they all together, 15 of them, voted on who they thought should be skipper, which is captain, of the sailboat. And once, it was a unanimous decision of Jeremy. And so once Jeremy was selected, they kind of were like, it's up to Jeremy to now start picking the 10, because he's the 11th. And I kind of loved how they did that, because then it took the pressure off of everyone and this tension and everything. And you're like, you know what? We obviously unanimously all wanted Jeremy to be the skipper. So whatever choices he makes, we respect. And that was beautiful. And it was a very tense scene where he's going through picking the people. And he ended up picking this kid, one of his last choice, like if not his last choice, was this guy Graham. And people were kind of shocked that Graham got on and another guy, Ken, didn't, because Ken is an excellent sailor. And so it was this whole thing. And what I thought was so magnificent is over the course of continuing practice, because the alternates still all practice, Ken stayed completely level-headed and still proved himself as a sailor, and Jeremy actually decided to change his mind, which I can't imagine how difficult that must have been to have that conversation with Graham and then to go to Ken and say, actually, we'd like you to be on the boat for the race. And so he did do it, though, because he felt that that's what was going to be best for the crew and best for the team. And Graham had such class about it. I was blown, and so did Jeremy. Jeremy handled it beautifully. He felt very terrible about even having to make the choices, but then to have to go back on selecting Graham and wanting to select Ken over Graham, it was just beautifully handled between all of them. He told Graham before he even approached anything else, and then when Jeremy announced to the crew, Graham supported the decision. He was like, I think you made the right decision. Ken is an excellent sailor. Like, it was so respectful and beautiful, and it was wonderful to see no anything bad, you know? Like, you expect all these fights and everything like that, but it was amazing. The Jeremy getting emotional at the end part that I really loved, they come in second. They do not win. They're head-to-head with this other boat, and they end up coming in second place, which is still incredible with the amount of people that were competing. They came in second. That's amazing, amazing work. But, they didn't come in first, which sucks. But, they spent a year auditioning, training, doing the whole thing, and then making the trip. And so, they've built bonds with these people. So Jeremy, at the end, started to get emotional, and he was like, hang on, I need a minute. And he went over to the end of the dock and was like crying, and one of his mates was with him, and Jeremy goes, if they put this in the film, I'll kill them. And his friend who's comforting him goes, oh, come on, it's going in, because he's crying, so it's good. Of course it's going in the movie. So that was just so touching how much Jeremy cared about his crew, and then was like gonna miss them and all that kind of stuff. And then Jenny and the sexism. I really want to talk about this. There were 2 women out of 30, 2 women out of the 15, right? Only one of them was on the boat. All right, Jenny was the one that was on the boat. And the whole movie, I'm going, she is the only woman on the boat. There is no way she is not enduring the most brutal sexism in the world. And they were doing a good job of just not kind of focusing on that stuff. And then finally, there was a whole little section where it was the boys started to be one boy was being a little brutal to Jenny because she kept asking him to trim, which is this thing where you do this. And he was like, you demand way more trimming than anyone else. I'm too tired. And she ignored him and then was like, trim. And he was like, and was so annoyed with her. So there was a hothead there. And then that led into this whole thing where everyone was talking about how hard it must be for her to be on a ship with all men. And how they're like, oh, we couldn't be on a ship of all women. There's no way, blah, blah, blah. So it was just really brutal. and really awful. And then there was one guy that was like, oh my god, I'd do this if I were the only boy, and it was 15 women, or 10 other women. He's like, that I'd be fine, that'd be cool, like they'd probably be really good at it. And I was like, we stand you and you alone. And he wasn't doing it in like a, ooh, I'm by myself with 10 women, like it wasn't like that. It was like, he was like, no, I bet they'd kick ass, like hell yeah. So I love that guy. But when it was finally like revealed that she absolutely was dealing with all that sexism, I was like, finally. I was like, there's no way. You got 10 dudes and 1 woman. They're definitely making some out-of-pocket comments that are so unnecessary. So I felt bad for Jenny. That had to be brutal, but she killed it for sure. The section where they lost their wind was so stressful. I thought they were gonna be like in last place, and or disqualified. I felt so bad for them, but they came in second. And yeah, overall this was very entertaining. There were sequences that I really enjoyed, and then there was stuff that I was like, oh, whatever. They're sailing, it's fine. But it was cute to see like their bond and their hard work paying off, because they came in second place out of like a lot of people and all that kind of stuff. And seeing at the end what they all went on to do was exciting. I wonder what they're doing now, because it's been like, 15 years since this movie came out. But that's so good. Yeah, so that's everything I have for Morning Light. My final rating is 6 sailboats out of 10. Our total movie count is... Parent Death Toll and Cry Count are still the same. If you want to keep up with the movie I'm watching when, follow me on any social. I'm everywhere. Just look me up. It's usually just Lambert19. Join Patreon. I got a tier starting at just $1. You get every video a week early and a coupon code for merch. But this month, trivia is video trivia, and it took a lot of work. So just join the $5 tier. Do me a solid. Join the $5 tier. What am I looking at? What's the word? Not compete. Participate in the video trivia this month. Thanks. Buy merch. Merch is great. You can still get this. It's going to be available for the foreseeable future. I'm not getting rid of it, although it's too much. Go buy it. Until next time, comment, subscribe, and I'm not sure if you are, so do you. And don't be... When they were being all like sexist to Jenny about it. Gross.